As long as you feel that you are somebody who may not be the first in your family to go into to undergraduate training or medical training, you don't have any experience in ophthalmology or various other factors, then you're definitely a candidate for joining up in this mentorship program.
Welcome to Season 6 of EyeCan, a podcast about ophthalmology through a uniquely Canadian lens. EyeCan is co-hosted by me, Hady Saheb, and Heather O'Donnell. Throughout the season, we'll have guest co-hosts for some of our shows. We will share our experiences as ophthalmologists today and tackle some of the challenges we face as healthcare providers. Season 6 of EyeCan is brought to you by Astellas Pharma Canada and Johnson & Johnson Vision. We thank them for their support. On today's episode, we're discussing the importance of equity-focused mentorship and the program currently being run at COS. My guest host is Dr. Nupura Bakshi, a retina and uveitis specialist in Toronto. Dr. Bakshi is chair of the COS Equity, Diversity and Inclusion Working Group at COS. Welcome, Nupura. Looking forward to having you as co-host.
Our guests today are Mishra and Pereira, members of the COS EDI Working Group and leading the development of the Equity-Focused Mentorship Program. Dr. Mishra is an associate professor in the Department of Ophthalmology and Visual Sciences at Dalhousie University. She has a joint appointment in Dalhousie undergraduate medical education as Assistant Dean of Skilled Clinician and Interprofessional Education. As a clinician educator, Dr. Mishra has been involved in numerous scholarly projects with a special interest in equity, diversity, and inclusion. She was awarded the EFMP Young Educator Award in 2025 for her contributions to medical education and currently serves as a faculty representative on the COS EDI Minority Mentorship Subcommittee.
Dr. Austin Pereira is currently a clinical fellow in medical retina and uveitis at the University of Toronto. Dr. Pereira received his combined MD and Eng degree at the University of Toronto and recently graduated from residency at that same institution. He currently serves as a Chief Ophthalmology Fellow and is a member of the COS Mentorship Subcommittee. So welcome, Austin and Anu, to this conversation. We're really looking forward to hearing your insights and learning from your experiences over the recent years. I want to start with a question for you, Austin. Your group launched the Equity-Focused Mentorship Program. I'd love to hear more about what that program is about and also hear more about the motivation behind its creation and what gaps you're hoping it would address in ophthalmology.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Saheb, and thank you for having me. It's awesome to be here. Really, our equity-focused mentorship program was really inspired by the 2020 call to action to leaders in ophthalmology to improve the racial diversity in the ophthalmology workforce, which was led by Dr. Loretta's team at Johns Hopkins. And it really highlighted the racial and ethnic disparities that we see in, frankly, all specialties in medicine, including ophthalmology. But literature has found that less than 10% of practicing ophthalmologists in North America identify from backgrounds that are underrepresented in medicine. But in the same token, literature has also consistently demonstrated that when you have physician-patient racial, social, and ethnic concordance, this leads to improved access to care, trust, and ultimately patient satisfaction. So we are really hoping to address this gap in the lack of formal mentorship availability for medical students Canada-wide, but especially a lack of mentorship for those from an underrepresented medicine background. And with the help of our unbelievable mentorship subcommittee at the COS, we were able to launch for this year the first Canada-wide mentorship program for first and second year medical students, but it's open to all, but mainly for those from a minority medicine background to hopefully promote a future career in ophthalmology. And I think our whole team's hope is to introduce ophthalmology at an early stage in medical training to those who may not think ophtho is a feasible residency option. As we know, it's getting more competitive every year, it seems. So really introducing it at an early stage of the medical training. And by bridging this gap, we hopefully will improve the patient trust in the healthcare system, improve eye care to minority groups, and to overall improve our cultural competency in the ophthalmology workforce.
I love that. Thank you, Austin. And moving on to you, Anu, I'm understanding that you now have over 40 active pairings of mentees and mentors. And I think that's an incredible accomplishment. So congrats for this for this number of pairings. Based on what you've seen so far, what kind of themes are emerging from these early pairings?
Thanks so much, Hady, for the question. We are, really excited that we have, I think, quite a good number of initial matches, and actually we have more mentees that we unfortunately weren't able to match because we just didn't have quite enough mentors available. I think we're pretty pleased to see that we have a fairly good range across the coast with different mentors participating. We maybe are a little bit light on the West Coast and East Coast, so we are trying to do a bit more targeted push to try and get mentors from these areas. The other thing we're seeing is that we definitely have a good representation of mentors who currently are affiliated with academic institutions, and we would love to see a bit more involvement from some of our rural practicing ophthalmologists and those working in the community. I think we're pretty pleased to see that we have a fairly diverse group of mentors and mentees. About half are women, about half identify as a visible minority. One thing we did observe is that we probably didn't capture quite as many Indigenous students as we were hoping to, and similarly, mentors. So that would be something else I think we really want to draw a bit more attention to and, make some connections with the Indigenous medical community in Canada, and maybe through some relationship building, try and increase students and potentially mentors from these communities. The other thing that came out from our early data, which I thought was quite interesting, was that 100% of our mentors said that they felt comfortable doing mentorship around the academics. So things like harms preparation, CV building, research advising, but only about half of them actually felt comfortable with the equity sort of focus to the mentorship. So that would be things like, dealing with conversations around microaggressions or cultural imposter syndrome. So I think that certainly is a gap that we would love to try and address as we sort of see the program move forward.
I was hoping to unpack a concept with really either of you, Austin or Anu, is to hear more about how straightforward it is to define what the underrepresented groups are. My guess is that, there's a list of classic underrepresented groups that would be easy for many of us to recognize as underrepresented groups, and then probably others that are less straightforward and intuitive. And so has there been clarity on what these different groups are? Is it a work in progress? Can you tell me more about the thought process behind those different groups?
Yeah, I think that's a fantastic question. And I think that definition is always changing slightly. What we really started off with was, again, I'm from the University of Toronto, so we used their definition initially, which was those who are from a Black or Indigenous background, those from the LGBTQ plus community, or those who are financially disempowered. But actually, I'll give a big shout out to Dr. Abu Baker here, one of the staff physicians on the mentorship subcommittee. He had a great suggestion, which we followed through with, where if we were to just isolate just those groups, it really also promotes a little bit of bias in our own mentorship program and makes other people from other different groups that they feel like they're a minority in medicine feel like the other. So we actually are keeping our mentorship program completely open, though on the form we can say how you identify, and we had an open option to fill that in. But as long as you feel that you are somebody who may not be the first in your family to go into to undergraduate training or in medical training, you don't have any experience in ophthalmology or various other factors, then you're definitely a candidate for joining up in this mentorship program. So we're keeping more of an open blanket mindset to having anyone who may identify an underrepresented medicine background to be a mentee in the program.
So about 40% of mentees reported that they lacked adequate access to equity-focused mentorship, and more than 75% actually said they'd never been exposed to a mentor who shared their identity. So what do you think these statistics tell you about the current landscape of mentorship in ophthalmology?
Yeah, hearing those numbers is pretty staggering, and it really highlights the issue that was raised by the COS EDI committee, the AO's call to action, and a number of academic centers that highlighted that access to high quality mentorship is really lacking for students from underrepresented medicine demographics. And it also shows you how the current working class of ophthalmologists may not reflect the broader demographic of students currently enrolling in medical school. As I'm sure we've all seen, there's been a great emphasis on diversity and inclusion in medical school admissions, but there may not be a comparative number of ophthalmologists who identify in those minority groups, especially when I mentioned earlier, less than 10% of the working force identifies themselves as underrepresented medicine. So really the hope for this program, which is more of a long-term goal, would hopefully be promote a more diverse residency application group and to hopefully drive that 75% number down. That's a long-term goal for this mentorship program.
So on that note, why do you think it is important for the mentees to have equity-focused mentorship? Like, why does it matter if that is a focus of this program rather than just have mentorship into ophthalmology? Why do you think the equity piece is important here?
Yeah, I think it's because when you are a trainee, having somebody who may identify as the same cultural background or some sort of racial background, it allows you to gain trust with that mentorship, open yourself up to asking questions that you may not feel comfortable with somebody who you may consider as the other, or somebody who is a bit more majority in medicine. And I think having that trust not only in yourself, but also in your mentor would allow you to get more out of that mentorship itself. And literature has consistently shown that, as well as the AO Minority Mentorship Program. A lot of the mentees have demonstrated that when they identify with their mentor in some sort of racial or cultural background, they get more out of that experience. So I think it all really comes down to trust and opening yourself up, and having someone who identifies similarly to you promotes that.
Austin, I really like that perspective. And I wanted to share that one of my more rewarding mentoring experiences was supporting one of our learners who was a new mother going through the struggle of returning to a busy residency while having a young child at home. And at the time, I had just had our second child, and so although I wasn't living her experience, I identified with some of the struggles of trying to return, whether it's doctor's appointments or unpredictable, childcare situations,
Sure.
and just the roller coaster of being a new parent. And so, clearly that learner didn't identify with me as a mother, but I think that I played a role as an ally in a different group, right? But I think that role of an ally was particularly touching for that learner. And so I'm bringing this up because I'm not sure I completely understand, how the role of an ally versus, somebody that's part of the same group, how those two roles complement each other. But I wonder if you can share what you think are the differences between those two roles, perhaps inspire allies that don't necessarily fit into an underrepresented group on how they can get involved and support some of our more diverse learners.
I think that's a fantastic story, and it's quite amazing. And it also kind of touched upon how it's not just a one-way street with mentorship, how you're mentoring a trainee, how you're also learning from her experience, and it being an ally, it kind of goes both ways. But this is something that comes back to the note of how we can get more mentors to sign up. And really, we're really encouraging anyone, even if they don't identify as someone who's underrepresented in medicine or from that demographic, to be a mentor. As long as you're an ally and you're there to support somebody, you'd be surprised at what kind of connection you can develop with a trainee. Like, how beautiful is that? A new mother and you're going through fatherhood yourself. And I think that's an incredible connection and something that you never know you're going to find unless you sign up and can actually offer your time and connect with an individual you otherwise wouldn't have known. So I think this is why we're really stressing to the audience, anyone listening, if you're on the fence about signing up, any type of mentorship, as long as you're an ally, someone's there to support, lend a helping hand from your own experiences, your own trials and tribulations. I think that's an incredible offering to any type of mentee, and something that, as if I was in first and second year, I would love. So I think it's really allyship really comes down to what mentorship's kind of intertwined and all about.
So mentors, on the other hand, they felt that they did actually have access to identity representative mentorship in their own journeys. Do you have a sense of why this is different in their perception, today's mentees versus the current mentors?
That is I would say, a bit of a tricky question to answer. I think we have to be careful about not making too many assumptions from, the data that we have. I think some of this really is warranting more exploration, really with sort of, trying to understand a bit more some of these feelings and sort of differences. But I guess a couple things still do stand out to me. And one is that, these students that we have participating, they are first and second year medical students. So they are very early on in their medical training journey. Whereas the mentors that we have, about maybe half of them are current residents, and then the others are practicing ophthalmologists. So they really just by nature of time have had a longer sort of kick at the can, so to speak, and had that opportunity to network and make connections through their journey. I think the other thing that it highlights is, probably there is a need for this type of programming because, there probably is a cohort of the mentors who, when they went through their medical training and their residency, they were really in, groups with people that they identified with because we weren't seeing that same diversity in medical school, a few decades ago, and then from their residency. So there's been a lot of work that's been done over the last number of years where we really are seeing these different admission pathways to medical school, and that diversity of students is really coming through. And I think that's probably some of the reason why we're seeing some of these differences in experience.
EyeCan wants to know what you think. Please send your comments on today's episode or any suggestions you may have for topics or features to communications@cos-sco.ca, and we'll try to incorporate them into future episodes.
EyeCan veut savoir ce que vous en pensez. Veuillez envoyer vos commentaires sur le balado d'aujourd'hui ou vos recommandations de sujets à communication@cos-sco.ca et nous essaierons de les intégrer dans les prochains épisodes.
My name's Hussein Hollins, and I listen to the EyeCan podcast.
So, Anu, you are planning your first representation circle. Can you tell us a little bit more about what that means and what is the vision for these sessions and how do you see them complementing the more traditional one-to-one mentorship encounters?
Sure. So we're quite excited about these representation circles as a complement to this mentorship program. So we're hoping to have our first one in the next few months. And really, I would say that the purpose of these mentorships, sort of representation circles, are really twofold. One is around community. So what we really envision for this program is that this sense of community that's going to extend beyond that dyad mentorship between the mentee and mentor, and getting together with others that are going through the program, having this shared experience, I think will be really valuable. And the idea with some of these representation circles too is to have some breakout rooms so you have the chance to sort of connect with other mentees, other mentors, people that are sort of like-minded and interested in sort of this common goal. And the other thing is that what's really neat about mentorship is that it's all about self-growth. And we totally understand that for many people, this may be their first time being a mentee in a more formal way, or maybe a mentor taking on a more formal sort of mentor relationship. And we want to really provide both members of the mentorship dyad with the skill set to have success with the mentorship program. And so it's a chance to sort of learn together and identify different gaps or see where some of the emerging themes come from as we sort of move through the program. So probably our first one, we're really going to focus on what it means to be a mentor, what mentorship can do, and really try and get everyone on the same page and give everyone sort of this foundational knowledge piece.
And Austin, you've already mentioned that there's a need for more mentors. So thanks for encouraging our colleagues to connect to the two of you and the COS to offer their mentorship. What do you think are the barriers that might be preventing clinicians from volunteering as mentors? And how do you think the rest of us can help encourage them to do so?
Yeah, that's a fantastic question that our mentorship subcommittee has been mulling over. I think the one thing that's been overarching is like most things in life, if you see a colleague or a friend engaging in an activity that they find fruitful, you'd want to join in as well. So I think as the first year of this mentorship program, as more clinicians see their colleagues and their friends and having a great experience, hopefully with this mentorship program, they would want to sign up as well. So I do think that that would promote some more mentors to sign up. And they may not be aware of the program. And I know Dr. Mishra has mentioned this before, but hopefully trying to reach out to the East Coast through Atlantic Eye, through the Central Canada. And also for my mentee this year, they're actually primarily French speaking. So having more French speaking ophthalmologists would be awesome as well, just to have a bit more of a language connection as well. Also, it's kind of an overarching theme, but some may not have engaged in mentorship before, and they don't think that they'd be a good candidate for this program. But I do think that there's a lot of resources that ophthalmologists can have to become a mentor if they are never have that experience. So, for example, there's a free course at the University of Alberta, I believe, through the Indigenous Canada, which is a free course to help better connect to students with Indigenous backgrounds. And I think that's incredible. So you can learn more about a different culture and improve your cultural competency and at the same time connect with those students. So I think that would definitely help kind of reaching out to mentors and overcoming their maybe fear of mentorship or their unfamiliarity, I should say. And again, for those listening, even if you're someone who does not fall in an underrepresented medicine group, feel free to sign up. And if you want to be an ally, help become a mentor.
How can people sign up? If somebody's listening to this podcast and becoming a mentor or mentee, what's the best way for them to do so?
Yeah, you can reach out to me, call me, beat me if you want to reach me. I'm happy to sign you up. But also there's Stephanie New I cannot stress how important she's been in the development of this program. I don't know if we can include Stephanie's email or whatnot into the podcast, but I think it'd be incredible to reach out to her and she's able to connect you with some of the first and second year students who may not have a match right now. Definitely Stephanie New through the COS would be a great contact to reach out to apply to.
So before I ask this next question, I want to commend the two of you and your entire subcommittee because I know in detail the amount of work that you have put into creating this and have done it with such intentionality and thoroughness and really keeping in the long-term goal of diversity in ophthalmology in mind. And I really want to congratulate you and thank you. We are so grateful for the work that you both are doing. So thinking past individual mentorship and a mentorship program, this is a big question. This one's for you, Austin. What do you think are the cultural or structural changes that are needed within ophthalmology to improve equity, diversity, and inclusion across training and practice?
I think it just demonstrating continued commitment at the higher level, whether that be through COS and leaders in ophthalmology, that this is a point of emphasis to improve the diversity in the ophthalmology workforce and to strive to create an inclusive environment. And this includes mentorship programs such as this, but can also not just be overarching factors, little factors such as having food options at conferences for those with all cultural dietary restrictions. I know some of my colleagues have not attended some conferences because they're not sure if they have some food options for them. So improving the inclusivity portion just on that level of having food options for everyone. And something as simple as overlooked, and I'll give Dr. Mishra credit for kudos for this idea. We were chatting in passing, where something as overlooked like daycare options for young mothers at COS. There's more women in ophthalmology, which is incredible. And this is something that's important to allow young mothers to come learn and share their research and collaborate and know that they're included as well. So I think that's a fantastic idea and something I think that we can help on a structural and cultural level at these conferences to promote this inclusion. And then from my own experiences, absolutely love the workshops at the University of Toronto that we have that are through the EDI committee that highlight where we as ophthalmologists can provide better equitable care. And there's amazing themes that we have to help our patients improve our cultural competency, expose some of the biases that we may have that are blind. So I think that's something that we can help kind of promote better cultural competency and improve this inclusion in our field.
Let's hear more about what you think would be a good outcome. Like, how are you measuring all these tremendous efforts so that you decide, okay, this is working or not working, or we need to do more or less of certain aspects of your efforts? What are the outcomes you're looking for, and when are you hoping to see them?
Yeah, that's a fantastic question. I think one of the more important aspects of our mentorship program is the feedback. And this is really cultivated from the AAO Minority Mentorship Program. Every mentor and mentee match will have a feedback at the end of the year, which can tell us how they enjoyed their experience. Were they able to get the minimum of 3 hours of interaction, and how they enjoyed their representation circles, and what they can rather improve for their experience, whether that be a better match culturally or racially, or just something else that they can help improve the overall program. And I think that is a nice metric to see how we're doing as a mentorship subcommittee and the program as a whole, and to refine the program going forward. And really, I think a more of a formal metric to see if we're getting better clinical exposure and publications from these students. As we know, with multiple papers have shown that diverse authorship backgrounds can reduce the cultural bias in literature. So I think that's a nice formal metric that we can look at through this program. But there's also not measurable factors, like, are those who are underrepresented in medicine demographics more connected to ophthalmology? Do students feel that ophthalmology is an attainable goal, and have they had enough resources to achieve this goal? And this may be a 4 to 5 year success metric down the line, but while an intended CARMS application to ophthalmology is not really a prerequisite to apply, we do hope that participants may cultivate a mentorship relationship that can become helpful at the time of their application. And with the longevity of this program, hopefully going forward, we hopefully can support the actualization of more ophthalmologists joining the workforce from an underrepresented medicine demographic to hopefully, as Dr. Bakshi mentioned, improve the accessibility and care for patients. That's really what it all comes down to.
Well, kudos to the two of you for these incredible efforts, and I'm so pumped to see how this makes an impact on our field, on the future generation of ophthalmologists, and ultimately our patients. So really, thank you to both of you and to the whole committee for all the work that you're doing. And I know, Nupura, you're there in the background cheering them on and supporting them through these efforts. So thanks as well to you.
Austin, we know that this mentorship program would not have come to fruition without a tremendous amount of work from a large group of people. Would you mind telling us all their names so they can get some recognition for what they've done?
I would be absolutely honored to. As you mentioned, this group has been instrumental in creating and bringing this program and idea to life. Really, it starts with the student group of Dr. Iman Karani, who is a ophthalmology resident at the University of Alberta, and Dr. Mustafa Bonduk, who is an ophthalmology resident from the University of Calgary, and also Kate Lim, who is currently applying to residency. For any program directors listening, she's a superstar from Dalhousie University. And again, the amount of guidance and mentorship from our staff supervisor has been instrumental. So obviously starts with Dr. Mishra, and also Doctors Shahir Abu Baker and Dr. Christine Law and Dr. Amar Khan. And finally, really the MVP of the group is Stephanie New from COS, who's been instrumental in really bringing this framework to life. So it really takes a village, and we have a great one. So really blessed to be working with all of them.
Well, on behalf of the COS and the COS EDI Working Group, we're very, very grateful for your efforts, and I think this will prove to be very impactful for our specialty. So thank you.
We do like to wrap up the conversation with a set of rapid fire questions. They're meant to be not related to the topic of the discussion, just related to the two of you and trying to get to know you a little bit more. So the first question is, if you are not an ophthalmologist, what would you be?
Dr. Mishra, I'm actually excited to hear your answer to this. What would you?
Oh, I would be an event planner.
Ooh.
Yeah, having gone to Anu's wedding, I can confirm to you that she would be a very good event planner.
Thank you.
Even though I don't have the skills, I always wanted to be a professional hockey player. So I think that one was kind of nixed at an early age. But I, I don't know. And it's in fellowship, I haven't had enough time to think about what else I would do. So it was ophthalmology or bust, frankly.
Okay, if you had to host a podcast on any subject outside of medicine, what would it be on?
Food. Food. That's my only answer. Just hearing about all the different types of food in the world, that is right up my alley.
Yeah, I would say that mine would be sort of similar, maybe on restaurants and sort of food related, but different dining and experiences and different restaurants to check out.
Are you more into a beach holiday or a ski holiday?
Definitely a beach holiday. I'm going skiing for the first time in a long time with our family, so I'm a little bit nervous about it.
I would go with ski holiday. I think it's growing up skiing. I think that's probably one of the most fun vacations you can have. So skiing for a couple hours and go out pray. Nothing beats that.
What's your superpower? Okay, let's say if you could pick a fictional superpower, what would it be?
Maybe travel through time.
So basic, but I think flying, just because I've had such bad airport luck. So flying, I think would be my number one.
I would love to know what each of your favorite trips have been.
I think mine would definitely be my last trip I did with my grandfather. He's like a little older, so he can't travel now, but we did a trip to Europe in Italy when I was in undergrad, and I think that was awesome. Just really because I was able to spend that time with my grandpa. But we went to Florence and Rome, and again, a lot of my answers are food themed, but ate every pizza known to mankind. So that was a pretty memorable trip.
I would have to say probably one of my best trips was when I was a fourth year medical student and I did a couple electives post-CARMS in Australia. And so definitely did some elective time and some traveling time. And definitely one of the highlights was taking a hiking camping trip through the Australian outback. If you've never been, I would highly recommend it. It's honestly like nothing you've ever seen.
That sounds awesome.
So here's a bit of an oddball one. If you could choose between speaking every language on Earth or communicating with animals, which one would you pick and why?
I think every language on Earth.
Really? You're not going to go with animals?
I'm not a big animal person.
I just want to know what like my dog would be thinking about me, if he actually likes me or not.
I love that question. I mean, how amazing it would be to be able to connect with anybody in the world.
Yeah.
You know, I think it's amazing. And as I've traveled, that's often been something that I wish I could do more of, and the countries that speak a little bit of Spanish, and that makes a world of difference to be able to speak even in broken Spanish with locals. So I love that option. I think it's coming soon, right? I think our ability to speak any language with more ease is pretty accessible. So I feel I'm really, really excited to have that be available. So I think I'll stop bugging you with questions. That was really fun. Thanks for sharing some of those personal insights. And thanks again for everything you're doing for our community. So, and for the chat today. So thank you, Austin. Thank you, Anu. And thank you, Nupura.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you for joining us for this episode. We look forward to bringing you more engaging content over the coming months.
Merci de vous être joint à nous pour cet épisode. Nous avons hâte de vous proposer d'autres contenus captivants au cours des prochains mois.
EyeCan wants to know what you think. Please send your comments on today's episode or any suggestions you may have for topics or features to communications@cos-sco.ca, and we'll try to incorporate them into future episodes.
EyeCan veut savoir ce que vous en pensez. Veuillez envoyer vos commentaires sur le balado d'aujourd'hui ou vos recommandations de sujets à communication@cos-sco.ca et nous essaierons de les intégrer dans les prochains épisodes.
thank you from the Canadian Ophthalmological Society.
Merci de la part de la Société canadienne d'ophtalmologie. Our sponsors for season 6 of EyeCan are Astellas Pharma Canada and Johnson & Johnson Vision. We thank them for their support.
EyeCan is available wherever you listen to your podcasts and, of course, through the COS Practice Resource Center.
EyeCan est disponible partout où vous écoutez vos balados et bien sûr au Centre de ressources pour la pratique de la SCO.
Listening to EyeCan counts for unaccredited MOC credits. Listeners may claim 0.5 credits per hour under Section 2, which is individual learning as educational content review, and that can be done up to 30 credits per year.
EyeCan is written and directed by Kim Teitler and produced by John Allaire from Allaire Strategic Works.
EyeCan est écrit et réalisé par Kim Teitler et produit par John Allaire d'Allaire Strategic Works. Some episodes this season will include relevant links and show notes, so be sure to check episode descriptions to learn more. Certains épisodes de cette saison incluront des liens pertinents dans les notes d'émission, alors n'oubliez pas de consulter les descriptions des épisodes pour en savoir plus.
If any of our listeners have topic ideas to submit, please email them to communications@cos-sco.ca, and we will review for consideration.